Welcome to the Giants Nation. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, and we've got an interview with Dan Duggan of The Athletic today. We'll have Grump and Danny on for segments. Um, a little peek into not behind the scenes, but my thinking on why, we're not getting a full Giants Lions preview. There is 6 preview pods left on the year. The Giants are 2-9. I just don't think people are super interested in hearing how the Lions are schematically working and how they're working their 2 running back system with Gibbs and David Montgomery and the play action that they use, like, at the Jameson Williams and how to confuse Jared Goff. I just don't think people are overly interested in that, which I love doing that stuff, but I just with 6 games left, I figured, you know what? Let's get Dan Duggan on. We haven't had on a reporter since the Brian Daboll was fired news and just get some thoughts, information out of him. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. We will have again Grump and Danny on for segments for that. So we'll have some fun doing that and talking about the matchup a little bit. Um, and I do think the Lions are a little dinged up, right? Like their offensive line is injured, right? Guys missing practice and stuff. They offensive line hasn't been as good, right? They went with a little bit of youth, letting Kevin Zeitler go, but still really good. They still have, the really good running game. The receivers, Jameson and Amon-Ra St. Brown are good. Laporta's injured, and obviously they're coming off that bad game. But, when I was putting together, my big board for the fantasy draft, like, man, this is a team that could gash the Giants. So we'll see how it goes. Uh, Defensively for the Giants, if they don't have Paulson or Debo again, I think that really just limits any type of ability. But I'm excited to get Jackson Dart back, right? Like it seems like he's going to be back. He wasn't cleared from the concussion protocol on Thursday, so you never know. But I am excited to get Jackson Dart back because despite as bad as this season has been, he has been the thing that's been a joy to watch, right? Even when it's not perfect and there's mistakes, all right, but I'm invested in these mistakes and how can he get better. And not to do a full mailbag segment on Jackson Dart, I've been pleased with his growth, right? It's not just, he has 17 touchdowns in 7 games and they're ranked, 14th or 16th in scoring since Jackson Dart has taken over and no receivers. It's like, man, I feel like he's gotten better with things that he struggled with early on, right? You saw in the last game, the under center play action he really struggled with in his first 6 games. They didn't even really put it on the plate much. They did in that last game. He did really well. Something you guys, if you guys listen to, all the episodes we talked about, after what game was it? Let's see. So the most recent game he played was the Bears. The week before that was the 49ers. And I was like, teams are kind of figuring out the concepts the Giants run. So they're like flooding that while also trying to hold his rushing in. Start putting the backside dig, right? Like those backside in cuts. And he did well against that for the Chicago Bears. And you see the Giants utilize that a lot with Jameis Winston last week. Essentially, almost every Isaiah Hodgins catch was that. So I've been happy with his growth. But we're going to get into this interview with Dan Duggan. First, this episode was brought to you by some special people. We got EJ Mastronardi. He's the master of the arty. He's the party, master party. Matt Zeiler, talking about, Kevin Zeitler. No relation, but, similar last name, Matt Zeiler. We've got SK. Don't know what that stands for. Just don't. I don't know what it stands for. S- Skinner's Kids. Maybe that's what it stands for. We got Rick Decker. People forget the Decker family from the 23 draft stream. It was, he's part of that family. So welcome to the GNS family. Another member of the Decker family, Rick Decker. These people went to patreon.com/Giants Nation. It's what's keeping this show up and running and alive. We live off you guys. There's a $6 tier. We haven't said this basically since we started the show, but do encourage you to do the $9.99 a month tier. We give away 3 t-shirts every month. You get an extra raffle for that tier giveaway. You get stickers when you sign up. Um, and we do the film review that's behind there. Just did a Patreon Giants State of the Nation. Every 6 weeks or so, I just do a live stream just talking about show, my thoughts on stuff. People basically ask me anything, so we do that. Um, and it'll be interesting. I do think we're gonna start adding some content, um, that's Patreon only in the off season for the draft. Not because, we gotta get all this exclusive content. It's just a lot of stuff with that we don't put out to the public because it's like, all right, the public overall doesn't care about this, but we know some people will, so we might put it on there, maybe some draft stuff. So patreon.com/Giants Nation. It's again, it's the lifeblood of the show. Appreciate anyone who's stepped up. Feels like we haven't started. It feels like the show is just back in full swing, and we haven't actually talked about like, hey, this show's only how old is the show now? We started in April, so 6, 7 months old. And then you guys kept it going strong. So appreciate you guys. And here's Dan Duggan of The Athletic. All right, we now welcome on Dan Duggan of The Athletic. I just wanted to say, remember that conversation we had on the bus? And I'm like, man, this kind of feels negative, right? But I was like, I agree with you. That's like it played out almost to like a perfect T. Like Jackson Dart starting by week 4, being one injury away from the defense not being that good, and now here we are 2-9. How you doing?
Yeah, I'd like to say I'm not negative. I'm accurate. It's like because I do remember coming out that bus like, wow, man, we kind of just smoked this team when like vibes were at an all-time high in the middle of camp. But yeah, I don't remember exactly what we talked about. I remember definitely not being in on the Russ experiment, and obviously that one came to fruition. And yeah, I was definitely way more wary of the defense. I thought it'd be better than what like 29th right now. I thought it'd be better than this, but I definitely had my reservations. And again, that's been even worse than I could have imagined. I was trying to be positive. I mean, I know you put out the win totals, and I had 6, and it's I mean, it's gonna be an uphill climb to even getting the shouting distance of that at this point.
Oh, that's my favorite bit every year is like we put out the win predictions. Everyone complains that everyone's always negative, and then at the end of the year, nobody even hit the game. No one went under what everybody predicted every
Yeah, like
year.
by 3. Like I had 6 last year.
Um, on a serious note, why are you lying on my boy Abdul Carter? He wasn't sleeping. He was in a red light therapy bed.
Yeah, no, that was a fun start to the week. It's I guess I'll take people behind the curtain here. So obviously when he's not out to start the game, it was alarming. And obviously he doesn't usually start, but when Kayvon's not in, you're like, oh, Abdul's gonna get the start and just play edge and not have to move around. And then you see Timon Fox out there, and then it's 3rd and 11 or whatever on that opening drive, and he's still not out there. And he comes out on the punt team. So it's pretty obvious that it was something disciplinary or something happens. And of course, you go after the game, you ask questions. Nobody would say anything. Kafka says, I want to keep it in house. And I'll do a quick detour. I understand why coaches think that. If Kafka, he's new to this, if he's getting better advice, it's just say what happened because it really wasn't that bad. Like to use Abdul's justification, it was an honest mistake. I'll buy that. He missed, he screwed up. Just say he missed a walkthrough. Won't happen again. He learned his lesson. And there's nothing to dig on at that point. I mean, because I remember Joe Judge's out Andrew Thomas. It was like he was late to a meeting. That's why he sat the first quarter. And obviously, we've never heard another blip from Andrew Thomas, but it's like sometimes being transparent is beneficial. These teams always think bunker mentality, bunker mentality.
Yeah.
That's the situation where I burned them because then obviously I'm a reporter. I'm going to dig. And now I'd already heard that the thing about Carter being late had been a trend. And obviously, Daboll, another thing we probably talk about in that pod or we've definitely talked about in the past, everything was let slide. But I had that in the back of my head. I'm not going to report that like a rookie being late to a couple of meetings, whatever. That's not a big deal. But then when you hear what happens on Sunday, or what happens on Sunday, like, well, is it related to that? So obviously found out the word I was given from multiple sources was he was sleeping. Ran that through, let's say, the proper channels, was confirmed, expected maybe to be some pushback. There was not. And then, of course, then it's just the silly cycle of, rebuttals and parsing things. So, yes, and I guess we've landed at he was in a bed. And now just the question is, were his eyelids opened or closed? I guess I can't sit here and say I know for a fact he was sleeping. I will say many people in the building thought he was sleeping. And again, the bottom line is the reason why he wasn't starting because he missed a walkthrough, which I first reported, and then the fact that he was in a bed, whether or not he was sleeping. 69 other players on the team were at the walkthrough. He was the one that was not. So whatever reason he has doesn't really even matter that much.
Yeah, I had joked beforehand that for our mailbag pod on Wednesday, I had to like Google red light therapy, which are like $70,000, by the way. Like, can you fall asleep in them for more than 20 minutes without it like zapping your brain? And you can. They just it'll dry your skin out if you do it too much. But I did find it funny. I was like, oh yeah, he is actually in a bed, and we can't know for 100% fact. With that though, if there's one thing that you can point to with Brian Daboll, like as like a clear issue, is this letting stuff slide, right? We said, I remember last year at this time of year, it's like there's a culture of letting shit slide, right? And whether it's Malik Neighbors or whoever else, this is the first interview I've done since it happened. Feels like forever ago, but I do want to put a bow on it. What have you heard like from the Brian Daboll front in these 2 weeks after it came out? Because obviously stuff, you hear stuff as it come out, or is it just like now it's just free reign to talk about the issues that were there at Daboll?
No, I mean, I will say this. My approach to this, I'm from Boston, and the most tradition you could set your clock to, your watch to, was if someone got fired, then all the hit pieces would come out and bury the manager on the way out of town, the Red Sox, whatever. And I was there, I was young at the time. I always thought that was kind of dirty. And so my approach is like, if I'm covering a team, I want to be on top of these things. I want to be in front of these things. I don't want to be, oh, now that he's gone, everyone's willing to just sing and say all the problems. So I haven't really engaged in any of that. Dable to me is gone. I feel like I did a pretty good job documenting his shortcomings in real time. So I have no interest in digging up what went on under him. So, and I'll say even to the Beats credit or the team not trying to bury him, there hasn't been that one definitive piece like this. I mean, like Jordan had the thing about popping off on Kafka. Like we all knew that's been going on for 4 years. That anecdote had some juice to it, but so yeah, I've kind of just moved on from Dale because again, I feel like you read my stuff, you follow me on social media, you've seen me in interviews. I think I've been pretty honest and straightforward with everything. It wasn't like I was doing a cover for Brian Daboll. So I don't know that anything else more has come out because again, I think it was all in plain sight. We've been criticizing a lot of how he operated for the last 2 to 3 years. You're kind of going back really to that 23 season with Wink and all that. So I don't think that I mean, there'll be stuff that'll drip out, and then it's also going to be the stuff where a lot of things will conveniently be pinned on him. Like my favorite one, I think me and you have even joked about it, like the Isaiah Hodgins thing. Like, yes, it was clearly Brian Daboll was the one. Just he would not let Isaiah Hodgins come back, and then all of a sudden he's gone. I think that's mostly coincidence that Slayton has a hamstring and Lil Jordan Humphrey gets poached by the Broncos. But I think it's very convenient. Oh, they put Neil in IR finally. Now that Daboll's gone, and I think it's just this regime never misses a chance to capitalize on a PR opportunity. So, settling some of these fan friendly moves right after Daboll gets the boot, I think it's smart on their it's crafty on their part. I think it's a little dirty, but I think it's crafty, and I think that's more what happened last week.
If there's no greater evidence that Brian Daboll was not the one, I actually did have a question about that, and like Jameis as QB2. The Jameis wrestling is funny. It's like they knew that Dart was going to get injured at some point and want to win that game, and had that literal exact line after the Eagles game, and that's what happened in Chicago. But on the Hodges one, if there's no greater evidence than Slayton getting injured, and Gunnar Olszewski, who has really never played receiver in his entire career, and when he did, it's slot. He's got him playing outside over Jalen Hyatt. Like if that's not as clear of a message that Daboll is not on board with rostering Hyatt, I don't know what there is.
And I'll jump in. Actually, the Jameis one's funny because that's even more egregious example. People are like, oh, now they switch him. If you think if Brian Daboll survived that Chicago game, he was going to come out last week and start Russell Wilson, you're crazy. I mean, I felt like he was playing him against his will. QB2. I mean, the guy got fined $100,000 because he was so desperate to not have Russell Wilson basically touch the field. I mean, I think you remember there was the leaks coming out after week 1. That or maybe after they made the change, at least came out that he was wanting to do the change after week 1.
Yeah.
Remember those dueling leaks of like, oh, they got a package for Dart. Oh, they don't want to rush Dart. Which side do you think Daboll was on that? Obviously, he was a Dart guy, not a Russ guy. So I think after seeing just how bad Russ looked every time he touched the field in the cameos when Dart was hurt, there was zero chance, no matter who was the coach of the team, that Jameis was going to start, and anyone but Jameis was going to start last week.
Yeah. Moving on from the Daboll front, what do you think when you hear the phrase "good young nucleus"?
Oh, yeah. I think that is what they have been clinging to now for 2 years, and the 2024 class that was, basically the headline reason why Joe Schoen was brought back last year. Look how good, that looks in retrospect. I did a whole thing the day after Dale got fired, just examining like how did Schoen survive this, and this idea of the good young nucleus was the only thing we have to go on because no one's spoken from the team to explain it. And if I just compared it to Dave Gettleman, who I think we all agree was a train wreck of a general manager, he acquired a good young nucleus. That's not what it's about. You picking in the top 5, top 10 every year. You should hit on players like in Gettleman's case, Saquon Barkley, Andrew Thomas. In Shane's case, Abdul Carter, Malik Neighbors. Like that's the bare minimum. Or if you spend $150 million on Brian Burns, he should be a very good player. Obviously you can have big whiffs, and he's had a share of those too. But yeah, it doesn't compel me at all. And I think we're going to do the same thing with this class. We're doing with every class. We're going to overrate him like Cam Scadaboo. is some combination of like Walter Payton and Barry Sanders in fans' minds. Hey, he was a great jolt of energy. I think he's a better pro than I thought he'd be. He averaged 4.1 yards per carry. Like, let's like just try to remember that when he comes back next year. The dart thing, I mean, that's the thing. If Joe Schoen's gonna hang his hat on anything, it's the dart thing. But it's also we're in year 4, and they're kept 2 wins again at Thanksgiving. Like, I just don't even understand what we're doing. It was when it was the are they a package deal, and people are debating, is it more Daboll, is it more Shane? Like, why are we trying to parse that? They came in together. They've had 4 years. The product is getting not only not better, it's getting worse. I mean, if you look at the record year by year, I mean, they'll probably get to 3 wins this year, so you can say maybe it's equal, but that's pretty depressing when you consider all they've invested, all the draft capital they've had. So yes, they have some good young players. So does every team in the NFL. And the bottom line is the roster as a whole has not improved nearly enough to justify year 5.
No, and you mentioned, the trying to like figure out who's more responsible. Well, Shane could have, asked to fire Brian Daboll last year, and John Mara would have granted that. I would have assumed, and I wouldn't have agreed with it, right? I would have said at that time they both should have been gone. But like when you were getting ready to draft a quarterback, that was the time to be like, you know what? Maybe we need a coaching change. Not in the middle of year 4 when you do have that quarterback who that guy banged on the table for. Um, that's where just like last year, oh, we're close. We're a quarterback away. Like we're close. We're close. And then look at yourself again, 2-9, with the quarterback actually being the one thing that you can look good at. Like coming into this year, I was frustrated because I feel like Jackson Dart's not going to be afforded the ability to be a rookie and struggle. And the fact that he's been the bright spot of the team and they're 2-9 should point. Like, even if they got that right, like, how are you sitting here saying this is a good young nucleus when the quarterback's playing well and you're 2-9? Like, the only team worse in the NFL is the Tennessee Titans.
Well, I get ready because I mean Shane's bye week presser, I assume he's going to do it, is coming up. Last year it was close, and obviously the heavily implication was it was the quarterback holding us back. Now it's going to be you've seen it. I mean, you don't have to see what Joe Schoen says from his own mouth. You just read national insiders or hear them on their spots on TV, and you just know what his narrative is. And it's going to be all the blown leads, and it's going to be that was coaching let us down. We had the talent to have double-digit leads and X amount of games. So now we just fix the coaching. Snap your fingers, just like getting rid of Daniel Jones. Snap your fingers. Everything will be better next year. Just blind faith that he'll figure it out. I mean, it's funny because the other thing I see is people talk about the cap space they're going to have. Is that a good thing? Because look at what their free agent class was last year. I mean, you go through that line item by line item, it's unbelievably bad. I mean, who's the best addition they made this offseason, especially when you're talking value. I mean, Paulson Adebo is a good player. I don't think he's, has not got your bang for your buck there, but it's unbelievable. They basically swung and missed. I mean, Jameis might be the best value. It's crazy. So that even, you can't sell me on that. But yeah, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be, we were close last year, so you can't really use close again. It's going to be, we feel like there's a young nucleus. We feel like there's a talent. We just need to figure out how to finish these games. And again, I was kind of going out of my mind last week because it's just there's so many narratives you see, and you know where they're coming from, and so you just feel like you have to push back. So the talent is why they got the leads, but it's only coaching why they blew them. And then the games when they get blown out, they've lost 4 games by double digits. That was we just don't talk about those. There's nothing. No talent. We won't parse those. Hey, it happens. You lost, but it only matters in the games they won. Or like the Saints game, we're talking about that as a double-digit lead. It was like they scored in the first 2 possessions. What was it, 14-3?
Yeah.
And then you go out and got your butt kicked by a team that's got 2 wins. So it's just a selective shaping of narratives. As you can hear in my voice, it drives me crazy. But I just know what's coming, so that's probably why I'm so passionate about it. Because I try and get in front of it because it's just so obvious. It's so transparent where the angles are going to be played. And again, this one, it's going to be feel great about the young nucleus of talent. Just need to finish games, get the right coach in here. We'll do it. We'll fill a few more holes this offseason, and away we go. And maybe that'll happen. I mean, eventually they're going to stumble into a 2022 season, and Joe Schoen will probably get a lifetime contract because it feels like that's just what they're hoping and praying that he can be that guy. So eventually the breaks will go their way in some season. I still just don't think he's done a good enough job to be able to hang on long enough for that to happen, but I just feel like that's where this is headed. Unless it's just, if he comes in next year and it's another abomination, at some point you'd think they'll move on.
That's the frustrating point from my point of view, is because 2022 has been the best season the Giants have had since they won a Super Bowl, and that surely felt good. But that can't be. That feels like what they're aiming for,
Right?
with Joe Schoen. Where, like you said, Jackson Dart looks good, right? Quarterbacks can change from year to year, but like that's the one thing I'm excited about. So you get, let's say they just kill the coaching search. All right, then what are they, like a 9-win team? So in year 5, you've got a quarterback and a great coaching staff, and you're a 9-win team, that being like the best case scenario, or 10-win or whatever. Like that should be say, hey, look at everything else must be really bad if you got quarterback coach and you're still not winning 12, 13 games. And hey, they could have an all-star offseason next year, and then maybe it look, even Gettleman had like Gettleman's 2020 offseason was amazing, right? You got like not top of the market free agents. They all were better than what they were in previous years. You got Thomas and McKinney at the top of the draft. You got like special teams contributors for 5 years at the bottom of the draft. And it's still that just doesn't make up for 3 years. So that's where I get frustrated. Is like, what are we close to? Like, as much as I would kill for a 9-win season, that's not my goal for a GM in year 5.
Right, and that goes back to the whole quarterback point too, where it's like hitting on that's obviously the hardest thing to do. But in year 4, if you hit on it, it should give you a jolt. Like you should make a jump. You shouldn't. I mean, it's unbelievable. We're sitting here at 2-9. But yeah. So again, it's just like any argument you could make for. It's just that I feel like the evidence is just so much stronger against, and it's this thing they always do where they wish for the best case outcome of everything. It's like you have evidence. You've seen he's been here for 4 years. You see what the results are. So it's crazy for me to think like, well, if we just give him one more offseason, it's like how many years is he gonna do that? Because then you get into the total dicey position, which maybe we'll get to. I don't know, of the not being on the same cycle of the head coach and the GM. Because what if they bring in a head coach? They bring in Chris Shula, who seems to be everyone's favorite candidate just because he's not some of the retreads Jake Laser mentioned, and he's a first time head coach, and there's some growing pains with that. And you go 7-10 next year. So you just gonna keep bring Joe back again. I mean, like, at what point would the record just be like indefensible? Whereas you have an opportunity here just for a clean slate. Like, I see people like, what if the next GM is not better? It's like, how could he be worse? Like, just look at the winning percentage. They have the second worst winning percentage over the last 3 years. Only the Titans are behind him, I believe. So what are we afraid of here? Like, that the new guy won't know how to use the fancy technology in the draft room. So I just think it just makes sense. You Daboll walk the plank, totally justifiable. It's just clean house. It's the easy, obvious move to do, and we've seen in recent history here where they haven't done it and it hasn't worked. You keep the GM a little longer, and everyone's gone 2 years later. And it just feels like unless they draw and hit the inside straight, that's what's probably going to happen. They'll hire Lou Anarumo, and in 2 years they're going to go 6-11 and 7-10, and you just blow it up anyways. And you've done the Daniel Jones that they're so desperate not to do. You've wasted a couple years of Jackson Dart, so. It's just so obvious to do a clean break, and it's kind of baffling that they just walk through the obviously open door.
Yeah, that's actually a point I'm going to write down for something I'm working on. Like, I want that new head coach to have a fresh slate, right? I don't want him, dealing at opposite timelines because you saw what happened with Judge and Gettleman at the end, where they're not agreeing on. And if they want the CEO type, like that's just like begging for a power struggle too. Um, so talked about why Joe Schoen shouldn't be safe. How safe is Joe Schoen? Because it's sure as hell, even before the Daboll firing, it sure felt like Joe Schoen was really safe, and people were adamant about that. Um, and it seems like the last week or so, with the reaction to the news of keeping Joe Schoen, that it has swung a little bit. Like, how safe do you think Joe Schoen is, in your opinion?
Yeah, no, I think, when they put that initial statement out, you just take it at face value. And then, my colleague, Connor is like, a great resource to have, with me at this point. He's, been around forever, super connected. And he doesn't just, he doesn't tweet a lot. If you go on his timeline, he's not like me and you, who's like tweeting 10 times a day. So if he tweets, it's got a little weight behind it. And he was the first one to come out of the gate say, doesn't necessarily mean Joe is safe. Kind of basically expect them to reevaluate everything at the end of the season. And when you step back, that makes sense. Because if you really read what that statement said, like, they have to announce he's staying as the GM, because obviously that's going to be a question. Okay, Daboll's out. What about the GM? So that doesn't really mean anything. He's remaining as the GM. Well, yeah, you showed up to work the next day. And then leading the head coaching search. I mean, obviously that is the part I think we all latch on. He's leading the head coaching search. He's going to be here. And even just from talking to Ian, I can't remember if it was in his tweet or not, but he's just basically saying leading doesn't mean finishing. So there's, at that point, there was 7 games left when they fired Daboll. If they go 0-7 and end on a whatever losing streak that'd be, what would be like 9, 10, 11 years? I can't do the math anymore. But regardless, if it's just the bottom falls out, how could you possibly sit there on January 5th or whatever the day after the finale is and say, all right, the coaching search is in full swing now, putting our requests in. Joe's the guy. You're going to have to extend Joe Schoen. You're not going to have a lame duck GM. So you're going to announce on the heels of a 2-15 season, 3-14 season, we're bringing Joe back. Like, that would take a lot of gumption to do that. So I just think Ian's point was, let's just hold the phone here. Like, just because they announced on, November, whatever, that he's remaining and leading the search doesn't mean anything. And now, again, I still think if you're going to give odds are they will keep Schoen. That's just what their inclination is. They don't want to shake everything up. You got the complications of John Mara's health, just ownership in general is kind of aging. It's maybe a tough time to do transition. Don't really think that should prevent you from making a decision, but it's human nature. I think it is a factor. And so I think that they're going to be looking for reasons to keep him. But again, if they go out to Detroit this week, which I think this is right for like a 50-20 type game, get blown out, and then that last stretch is gonna be so depressing. It's just playing bad teams, half empty stadiums, and if they don't win any of those games or don't win many, like it's just like how are they going to be able to justify it at that point? So I think that the door is still open for a change. And then also the other thing you've heard is like, well, if a Jacksonville type situation unfolds, I think they'd have to be willing to listen. If I don't know, let's just say one of these head coaches that is actually desirable gets let go. If like Mike Tomlin is like, I want so and so to be my GM. I think yes, I don't think they would like lay down on the track. So like, no, Mike, we're keeping Joe. So I think there's just wiggle room. I would say if we're sitting here in 2 months and the coaching search is, a week in, I think Joe will still be here. But I definitely think the door is cracked open. And again, like when someone like Ian puts that out there, you pay attention because he's very plugged in and he's not just putting that out there because it's like, what he woke up that morning thinking. He's obviously talked to people that inform that take.
Yeah. I don't know. I just I'm trying not to spout all my opinions off on this, but like I don't want to put a head coach in a situation where he like in an interview he's gonna have to be giving an opinion on Joe Schoen. Like you said, yeah, if Mike Tomlin does, but what if Chris Shula? Like is he's yeah,
Like,
he's trying. I'm saying he's trying to get the job of his life, and he's like, yeah, I guess I'll work with this guy, sure. Like I'll try it out. And the Liam Cohen situation is fresh, but when's the last time that really actually happened? And that was a very unique set of circumstances where you have a guy who's willing to not go, which is very rare, a head coach, number one, and then number two, nobody else interviewed Liam Cohen for some reason last year. So if he was interviewed by like what was one of the other openings last year? Say whatever opening, he's just like, all right, I'm just gonna pick that. Like even look at a Brian Daboll when there was reports that Miami wanted him to be the head coach. If there was another Brian Daboll in that situation, it's like, all right, I'll just go to Miami. Like I'll go with a fresh start if there's a fresh start somewhere else.
example on the lines of what you're saying is how it usually works out. Like Joe Judge, like wasn't linked to Dave Gettleman at all, but he's 39. He's getting an opportunity. Yeah, I'll make it work with Dave. Obviously gets in the building, didn't work with Dave. He's not going to turn down the job, but you create a toxic environment. It never worked. So yeah, I could absolutely, if it was Chris Shula or Jesse Minter, whoever, yeah, I can make it work with Joe. Like, I mean, listen, Joe presents well. I'm sure the interview process will go smooth. And then all of a sudden, 6 months in, 18 months in, like this isn't tenable. It's too late now. You're already taking the job and they're not going to like run him out then. So no, I agree. Again, it's just why it's just so obvious. Just make a clean break. It's just how you're supposed to do this. I mean, there are exceptions. People will point to the recent ones in Chicago and there's somewhere else too that they just did a coaching change and kept the GM of New England. And so far so good. But like I feel like those are more the exceptions than the rules. It doesn't mean it's necessarily the best way to do business.
You can also argue that they should have hired those coaches and still fired the GM that was in place too, and they might be better. Like Elliot, you might be more plugged in New England. I think Elliot Wolf is terrible. Like I bet
I don't think the GM anymore. Yeah, Vrabel's calling the shots there too. It's one of those de facto. He's like the head scout almost at this point.
right. That's where I agree with you. Where it just feels like they're wishing for the best case scenario. And because I can do it in my head too, right? Like I'm a fan. Like I can say, I'm like, man, maybe they turn it around and Tyler Newman makes a jump in year 3 and whatever. But I'm like, but that can all still happen with a new GM as well too.
Right. Yeah, let me say that I think
Good.
the best case scenario can happen with either one. The worst case scenario only happens by keeping Joe. Because if you just bring in a new regime and the team is good, well, obviously no one looking back saying, oh, we should have kept Joe. But if you bring in a new regime and they struggle in year 1, it's like, okay, it's year 1. You know what I mean? But it's like, if you struggle next year with bringing Joe back, that's when you get yourself into this twisted situation where it's just avoidable. Again, who knows? They definitely could have a good year next year. It's certainly not outside the realm of another top 5 pick. They are going to have money to spend. They might hit, whatever. But it's just why put yourself in that corner where if it doesn't go well, you're in a very sticky place with a GM who's had 4 straight losing seasons, a first-year head coach who's going to be like on the hot seat in year. Like it doesn't make sense to go down that path. But here we are.
That might be a promo line for the episode. Is best case scenario could happen with both, worst case with one. It feels like we're so far away, and anytime people ask me about it, I'm like, I'm not. I haven't even thought about that. In fact, I was talking with Jordan about the Senior Bowl, and He's like, "Yeah, they'll have a new staff." I was like, "Oh, yeah, they are gonna have a whole new head coaching staff." I've totally forgotten about that. We're so far away from it. What do you and we'll finish off with this. What do you hear on the head coaching search? We've obviously seen lists of names from a national insiders, but, like, what do you hear about how they're going about it a week and a half in?
Right. Yeah, you don't hear a ton yet. I think, everyone has their preliminary list. And again, like I defer to someone like Glazer. If he's putting names out, I put a little more weight in those. I mean, I think most of those names are on everybody's list to begin with. But when he says, "Hey, I talked to Joe Schoen," and then he rattles off 6 names, you feel pretty good that those are legitimate candidates. But I will say, it's like it was funny, one of these things where I was never a big fire in season because like it doesn't really do anything. And now I get it. It got untenable with Dable. And if you want to like hopefully get a little jolt with Kafka or give him a legitimate shot. I mean, I really don't think Kafka has a legitimate shot. I keep seeing that pushed out there. Like, what would he have to do to get this job? I mean, can you imagine if he goes 3-4? So if you're 5-12, and again on January 5th, it's like we're gonna keep Mike and we're gonna extend Joe. Like, I mean, I can't even imagine the reaction from the fan base if that's the case. So he'd have to like almost run the table here. I don't think that's gonna happen.
That would've been like keeping Kevin Abrams with Joe Ju if they stay with Joe Judge in 20.
100%. And I think they wanted to do that and realized they couldn't do that. But so my point being, like, there's not a lot you can really do on a coaching search. I don't even know when interviews are going to start. I've asked about that. I haven't heard anything. I mean, if nothing else, you should be knocking out the Antonio Pierce and Mike McCarthy and John Gruden, or whoever's in that bucket who's unemployed right now. If you have any interest in those guys, at least do that part now. Like, you just get ahead of that. So you mean, because that's gonna be a crush that first 2 weeks of the offseason when teams are in the playoffs and they buys, all that matters. So at least like clear your schedule as much as possible. I think the thing that caught my ear almost more than anything with Glazer was saying this isn't going to be some wide search where they're bringing in 25 guys. Now, I think it was like the Jets last year. They went a little crazy at like 15 guys. But when you look at the Giants' past searches, it's always like a handful of guys. And then I put this tweet out, right after David got fired. It's so depressing. Just if you look at, forget who they hired, who were the other candidates? Like none of those coaches have really gone on to be successful. It's unbelievable. I mean, when you look around the league, if you want to name any top coach anywhere, since at least 2016, now some of those guys got hired in say 2017, and but in the last, they've hired 4 times now, and they never even interview the guys like McVay and Shannon and John McDermott and Vrabel, and again, you just go on Kevin O'Connell. You can just keep going down the list of all the successful coaches in the league. At one time or another, they could have interviewed the Giants, some of these guys multiple times, and they didn't. And that's like, man, why are we going to go back to another small search again? If I don't think Glazer's list is comprehensive, but if that's the 6 names, what was it? It was Nagy, Arthur Smith, Spags, Chris Shula, Lou Anarumo, and I'm forgetting one, I think. But anyways, yeah. So anyway, but so if it's just, if we're going just to a 6-man field, I don't I don't love that. Like, I wouldn't mind. Again, you have the advantage of having this. Like, Mike McCarthy, maybe.
McCarthy, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it was.
So like, I don't love that if we're just gonna think like we've already interviewed McCarthy once, Spags twice. Like, I'd like to see a wider net. Like, because it's, I think the process. I mean, they change the rules like every year. It feels like it's slowed down a little too now, which is good. I think it lets the breathe. You don't have to make rash decisions, but take the time, do all the interviews. There's no, all it hurts is your travel budget or whatever. Like, go get on the plane, go meet with these guys before their playoff games. Like, it doesn't hurt to talk to people. It's funny. Look at a guy like Dan Campbell, who, he obviously, they could have interviewed him in 16, coming off being the interim coach in Miami. Could interview him in 18. Could interview him in 20 because he got hired in 21, I believe. So like,
Yeah.
this guy who was in their building. Now, listen, he was an unconventional hire, the biting kneecaps. You probably felt you dodged a bullet when you saw the intro press conference, but that's the type, like, cast a wide net. You never know who could be that guy. And so I'm looking at across the sideline this week, and we're gonna do this probably every week, like find a candidate on the team. Like, it was Jeff Halfley last week. Kelvin Shepard. He's like this fast rising guy. And he's like 37 years old. He played for the Giants for 2 years. I mean, he wasn't a super memorable guy. Like, he was just a good, solid pro. But like, interview him. Like, just because maybe it's not for this time, but maybe next time. Like, I just don't think they should have like a tight list of like guys we know, or letting talk about like the Nagys and the Smiths and the McCarthys, like guys who have been head coaches. Like, there's no excuse or no reason not to cast a wide net, especially considering their track record has been so bad at assembling these lists. And again, that's not me editorializing. That's just looking at the results. I mean, some of the names on these lists are guys that just never even got sniffs out elsewhere, or if they got jobs, were disasters. So it's like, I think you should maybe try to be changing things and not just saying, wow, our 6 lists we've had in the top drawer for the last 3 years. That's all we need to look at. I think they should be kind of checking every nook and cranny to find somebody. Hopefully, they'll change the way things have gone here.
Yeah, and you should be swinging to find your head coach for the next 12 to 15 years, right? So it's like check it. Like last year, the argument of keeping Shane Bowen was like, well, who's going to want to work with Dable, which is valid when you look at like the top list of defensive coordinators. Go to find somebody a year early who's not on everybody's radar, who would love like there is some future great defensive coordinator who's not on everyone's radar right now. Try and find that. Instead, they just kind of stuck with Shane Bowen, which is all they also could have went for Lou Anarumo too, like, and they just kind of just stuck with Shane Bowen.
Well, that's the thing I push back to because I put that list out. A lot of people are like, well, I mean, who was available the cycle they hired? Who cares? Like, you could get Sean McVay in 2016. There was no, I mean, he got hired the next year. You could have been ahead of the curve instead of just, what did Tom Pelissero put out as the top 12 candidates? And we're going to pick 8 off of that. Like, you can be ahead of the curve. I mean, the idea is this is like this family's, dyed in the wool NFL. They know everybody. Tim McDonald's the most respected guy in the league. Like, so shouldn't he have connections and know like who is the next Kevin O'Connell or whoever that guy is is a star coach on the McVay tree or the Shanahan tree that people aren't really talking about yet? And now listen, maybe they're a little shy because they took that swing on Judge, and obviously he was a hot name and it didn't work out. So I mean, listen, the thing we can look at this thing like dispassionately. This is very emotional for them, and there's human elements involved. So it's like, listen, it's always the pendulum always swings. Like you took a big swing on Judge. All right, let's go the safe route the next time. And that's like you went with the no head coaching experience in Daboll. Now let's swing back to the Nagy's and the McCarthy's and those types of guys. So I just think that's how it's going to go. I'd be very surprised. I mean, I know Shula is a name that Glazer put out there. I'm sure he's going to be a hot candidate. You'd love to try and tap into that McVay tree. Also, if I want to tap into the McVay tree, I want to tap into the Les Snead tree and just get someone from that front office. We've already discussed that to death. But it just feels like, doesn't it, that they're going to end up with someone either familiar or someone with head coaching experience because that's just safer. And I think that's what they're looking to put this ball in the fairway. They're not trying to drive the green or do anything crazy. I know you love golf. They're just trying to make a safe hire, I feel like, rather than swinging for the fences, which, I mean, I can understand why they would think that way, but I think you're probably limiting your upside if you do that.
Yeah, I've even fallen into it a little bit with McCarthy. Even though it's like, ask Bobby the things he likes about McCarthy, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I could tell you a lot of things I don't like. I really hate that he said he watched every Cowboys game on film and then admitted that he lied about that. But then I'm like, but 12 wins I'm just like, all right, man, 10 wins would be sick, I just put together like a report for Body Armor, and it's like, all right, Eagles win episode, and then every episode since. I'm like, you know what? 10 wins would be pretty fun. Duggan, appreciate you jumping on. Anything you got working on that's coming down the pipe? I know you put out some, big pieces since the Dable stuff went down.
Yeah. So you can probably go to my archives from last week. I was cooking
Any players you want to lie and bash about?
Now I'm gonna try and write a nice fluffy feature on somebody soon here. So it'll probably be coming out soon. It's hard to cover the football. I guess that's why I'm on this preview pod here, but it's gets a little tougher to get too deep into the X's and O's. I think there'll be a lot of coaching search, regime, organizational wide stuff coming up these next. I mean, gosh, it's a long time to go with the bye and everything. Was it 6-7 weeks left? So there'll be a lot of that type of stuff. Which is, I will say, if there's a benefit personally from doing the firing now, is you're not under a crunch of like, oh, Black Monday, and you got to start doing. I mean, we have plenty of time to explore all avenues of this opening, of where the organization stands, of candidates. So that part's a little bit nice, where it's not, if it happens on Black Monday, you're trying to get the candidate list, because interviews are going to start. We have plenty of time to let this breathe. So yeah, I think I'll try and dig my teeth into kind of a lot of angles related to this opening. I think that's pretty much that, and Jackson Dart probably the only things that matter over the next 6 weeks. So that's what I'll be focused on.
Yeah, post bye week, I'm like, all right, cool. I get to just, spend Wednesday and Thursday looking at head coaching candidates and not previewing the Patriots or whatever. Duggan, appreciate you jumping on, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
All right, thank you again to Dan Duggan for joining the show. Let him know that you enjoyed him on the show. I want to see tweets tomorrow. Thank you, Dan Duggan, for joining the show. One of us. Now we welcome on your favorite Dan and Grump, I guess. Kind of welcoming on Grump too. We welcome on Danny King for weather and trivia. So we'll talk to Grump in a minute. Danny, what do we got for weather in Detroit this week? In beautiful Detroit.
They're gonna love
Ugliest city I've ever been to in my life, by the way.
It's so great. It's so great. They're gonna love that they get to hear me before Grump.
Me and Justin went out to dinner with our friend PJ Clark, who worked for the Lions, and it's just like, this city's Terrible. Go ahead, Danny.
They got better sports than us, but yeah, I mean, if you're
There
gonna,
wasn't even people outside. It was the first major city I've ever seen where I'm like, there's no people out here. What's going on?
I heard that like city center area by all the sports complexes is actually pretty nice though.
But we didn't see any people. Like there was just
Oh,
no
okay.
people outside. Like it was very weird.
well,
Like you could
the-
park. Parking was the easiest thing it was more easier than parking in Melbourne, Florida. Like it was unbelievable.
Oh, must be nice. But if it's the one sunny day in Detroit the entire week at basically free Thanksgiving, it's gonna be 52 degrees, sunny, perfectly clear. It's a dome, so it don't matter. Win prediction, like Grump said, I'm gonna shout out Grump. He said my win prediction last week was great, and to pat my own back because that's what I have to do around here. Yes, the win prediction was great, but if you're gonna be out there 10 mile per hours, I don't know where you tailgated Detroit. There's got to be someplace. But yeah, if you're going to be there for some silly reason to watch the Giants get absolutely whooped, it's going to be lovely weather.
Nice. What do we got for trivia this week?
Going back to 2013, the Giants won 23-20, which ended the Lions' playoff season. And all the talk was how Jim Schwartz was the worst thing since sliced bread in Detroit. With that in mind, Eli Manning threw one touchdown. I feel like that's a trend a lot, just one touchdown. It was yes, he threw one touchdown. Can you name me the receiver that caught the football in 2013?
Is this the Will Hill game?
I just remember this game being like, because the Giants obviously made the playoffs that year, and the offense was a struggle the whole year. For some reason, that was the first game where I'm like, man, this offense is actually just like really bad. Odell was obviously phenomenal that year, but I don't think Odell was the touchdown in this game. Are you thinking Will Tye, not Will Hill, Grump?
No, there was a Lions game where Will Hill had like either a fumble return for a touchdown or a pick six.
I said 2013, by the way, Bobby. Odell wasn't here yet.
Yeah.
Oh, 2013. I'm tripping. I was like, I remember that game being lower scoring. I was thinking of the 2016 game. I was like, 23. I was thinking we must have had a defensive touchdown.
I was like, damn, we made the playoffs at 6-9. That's impressive.
2013. So
My brain.
I'll just go Victor Cruz.
No, I don't think that's right. Was Larry Donnell here in 2013?
I think he joined in 2014.
Man.
At least that's when he had the 3 touchdown game. Was 2014.
Donnell's he was a Giant since 2012. I don't know. Let me see if I've heard of this game.
Well, that tells me it's not Larry Donnell then.
If you have fit is all that is true. Well, that goes that one away.
I don't know. Is it like Rashad Jennings or something?
The correct answer for this game was
This was Larry Donnell's first year. He only had 3 catches.
Gerald Jernigan. Gerald Jernigan
Hmm.
caught the Giants' lone touchdown, 6 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown. His longest was 20 yards. Gerald Jernigan, he was here from 2011 to 2014, so he was a Super Bowl champion. And then after 2014, he wasn't in the NFL. He went to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in 2016 as a practice squad member. And
This
then-
might have been the game where like after like at the end of the year, it was like kind of clear that the Tom Coughlin Jerry Reese rift was starting to happen because I think John Mara said like I don't understand why it took us a year and a half to find out that Gerald Jernigan could play football. Does anyone remember that?
I personally don't because Gerald Jernigan. If John Mara did say that, he shocker, he was wrong. He played one more year for us, so that he
Yeah.
just stopped playing football.
Yeah, that's like the whole point. It was like there was a clear divide between the GM getting players and the coach playing players, and Gerald Jernigan was definitely one of them. That like moment sticks out in my mind. I don't know if it was this game that he had where that was referenced or whatever, but yeah.
All right. 2013 Giants Lions. I thought you were going to pull from the 2019 game because infamously, how many? Let me ask you this. Here's some trivia. In the 2019 Giants Lions game, how many New York Giants receivers? How many New York Giants players caught touchdowns in that game? It was a 4 touchdown pass game for Daniel Jones.
Oh,
Well, I'm assuming a bare minimum Saquon probably had one.
Saquon had one. Remember, it was somebody's first, like, it was a 2
Slayton.
touchdown. Slayton had the 2 touchdowns.
right.
Evan Ingram had the other. And for the Lions, Kenny
Galladay, and I think Devon Kennard. Didn't Devon Kennard score a touchdown in that
he
game?
had a fumble cover. Is the ball that Daniel Jones threw it like it was a swing pass that went backwards, and it got called a fumble, I believe.
Was I at this game? I might have been at this game.
It was in Detroit.
Never mind, I was not at that game.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw Lions Giants 2017. That was a horrible game.
2017. So
Or
dude, that was the year.
That was
Oh, that was Monday night. That was the Monday Night Football.
yeah, Monday Night.
That was actually right after Hurricane Irma, which was like I remember. Yeah, I remember. I don't know why, but for some reason I remember working like 15 hours that day because the hurricane just hit and just sleeping through the second quarter. The Giants were terrible. All right, let's get into the fantasy draft.
Oh, I'm loving this.
I got
Man.
slaughtered. I got shafted so hard.
Yeah, you sure did, buddy. And then also you did bad in fantasy. Grump had an 18-point game. He's 76 points back. So
Josh
You know-
Jacobs getting hurt, man. Come on.
Insane.
yeah, it's not like taking Jalen High in the second round had any effect on that.
Isaiah Hodgins did okay for me.
Oh, yeah, you could have gotten Isaiah Hodgins in the 4th round and then some other player in the 2nd round. So Grump is 76 points back. Danny had 44 points. I had 38. So Danny has opened up a 32-point lead over me. Danny, you have the first pick this week. Who are you going with? This is a hard week because the Lions got dudes.
Yeah, I was literally struggling, like, which guy do I want to take so I can watch him absolutely just dominate my football team all day Sunday. It was a fun exercise I did, but I went with the guy that just puts up points after points after points. Our run defense sucks. Granted, our pass game is kind of ass too, so it doesn't matter. But Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm just gonna take the guy. I feel like we're gonna get to the point where the Lions just gonna continuously hand the ball off. We sucked defensive on the run. He put up 38 points 2 weeks ago, 19 previously. He put up 36 against Tampa. So I'm gonna take the guy that I know will get points.
Yeah, that's as much as there's a lot of guys that can outscore Gibbs. Gibbs is the guy you take. So we were talking a little bit pre-show because we didn't do a full line segment. That like the Lions are banged up. They're certainly having some struggles this year. But like, let's say the Giants did like hold every lead that they had this year and they were 6-5. I think we would still be going into this game being like, yeah, but the Lions may simply just boat race us 44-20. I mean, it's just, especially if Paulson Adebo doesn't play in this game. Oh boy, you got guys covering Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra. Like Amon-Ra. Anyways, whatever. I'm not doing a full Lions preview of how like they may just demolish us. Maybe we'll surprise them and win. Grump, who's your pick?
There's a lot of ways you can go with this, right? Because the Lions could crush us in so many different ways. And I looked this up. So, like, there's kind of no wrong answers for the first 4 guys because their leading receiver has basically the same amount of receiving yards as Jahmyr Gibbs has rushing yards. And so they average the same amount of yards per game. They have the same amount of touchdowns. Then their second leading receiver has the same amount of yards receiving as their running back 2 has rushing, and they have the same amount of touchdowns. So you kind of can't go wrong here, and I'm tempted to go
Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to go Jahmyr Gibbs, Danny. So I'm gonna go Jameson Williams because I think that as much as I want to go St. Brown, like he'll draw Cordell Flott, which is at least a capable corner. I have no idea who's lining up across from Jameson Williams, but it won't be anybody good. So that's where I'm going to go with this one. But any of those 4, I think, is a good pick.
I'll be interested to see who they do put on Jameson, and because Amon-Ra does both outside and in, but he could make his money in the slot in this game, and it's just flawed on Jameson. Like it's just Jameson is fast, man, and they know how to scheme him up. Jameson's also the guy though. Like you could end this game. They run the ball super well, and he has like 2 catches for 52 yards. 7 points.
As long as he gets a touchdown, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, but he was number 2 my big board. But I'm gonna go Ahmad-Ra St. Brown with pick number 3, and then pick number 4. I'm gonna go David Montgomery. So
No.
Gibbs has certainly outperformed Montgomery, but they still give Montgomery his touches every single week. So I'm going David Montgomery with my second pick. Grump, your pick number 2.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly how I have my board. Gibbs, Williams, St. Brown, Montgomery, and then after that, I have Wan'Dale Robinson.
No.
Not a lot of Giants up high, but he's going to be up there.
Yeah, once you get to the Giants, it's
Grim.
Robinson's going to get targets, right? Will those targets turn into 6 catches for 45 yards, or will those be, 9 catches for 95 yards? We'll see, but he's at least a safe pick to get targets. And as I'm trying to catch Danny, I like that you're taking away the reliable targets. So, Danny, come on, back-to-back terrible picks. Let's do it. Let's see if you don't pick someone that we picked too. That's a big challenge this week.
I wonder what the odds are on that. Oh, good God. I guess I'm going to go with the reliable options. A part of me did consider Slayton here, but I'm going to go with Theo Johnson with the expectation that Dart is back. If he's not, I'll probably just cry myself to sleep. And then here's where now
I wanted Theo so bad.
Now I'm really stressed because obviously last week, they don't have Sam Laporta anymore, so that's kind of like, do I want to go Brock Wright? But he only had 2 points the previous week, so and then the Lions have a good running game, but the Giants off the line, at least last, this might be the pick that I think that will screw me. But I'm going to take the guy that I know will get handoffs.
Come on, make a pick.
I'm taking Tracy.
Yeah. So Tracy had a good game last week. He had the screen passes. This could be one of those games where Tracy just gets kind of shut out because the Lions' run defense is very good.
Yeah.
And if the Lions get a big lead, the Giants aren't going to be running the ball. Grump, your third pick.
Isaiah Hodgins. Going right for it. Isaiah Hodgins and Theo Johnson for me were a toss-up because Hodgins hasn't played with Dart, but the glowing reviews from people saying that Dart and Hodgins are going to connect really well, I got to go with that. And he came in with like no practice last week and was like the leading receiver. So what he does with Dart, I'm sure they're going to connect on scramble drills.
Yeah, that's where I would look for Hodgins as scramble drills. Like he's that backside, like his big plays were on the backside dig, which is Dart did well in his last game. That's where we literally said on the mailbag before the Bears game, I was like, let's start incorporating the backside digs, those backside in cuts, because that's where teams are leaving you opportunities and you haven't hit those or even had those in the playbook a ton. And then you saw them do it against the Bears. You saw Jameis do it against the Packers. But Hodgins is more of a timing player where Dart, he's not been like 100% perfect timing, been some playmaking in there. But those scramble drills is where Hodgins can make some money too. So that sucks. I really wanted one of Hodgins or Theo with this pick. Damn it. So I'm going to take this guy first because I have the opportunity. He was a limited participant in practice on Thursday, so maybe he plays. But it's at least the only guy I can trust to get some points. Darius Slayton, I'm going to go with my third pick. And then final pick, Brock Wright. Just hoping for a free catch, 28 yards and a touchdown. I have more faith in that than going Daniel Bellinger or Devin Singletary or somebody. So I'll go Brock Wright with my final pick. Grump, your final pick.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're a little crazy. Brock Wright hasn't done shit.
But Sam Laporta just went to IR.
I know, but still. Slayton is far from reliable to do anything
this year.
I mean, who is reliable? Devin Singletary here?
Well, here's where I'm going to go Devin Singletary.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah. The
touchdowns, but that was only last week. That was his first touchdown of the season.
But
I still think that when it comes down to the goal line scenario, Mike Kafka is going to have 3 choices. It's going to be a throw to a tight end. I guess there's technically 3 Giants tight ends available, but Bellinger's the only one I'd really consider. Hand off to Singletary or have Jackson Dart run. I don't know if Mike Kafka is going to be in the business of having Jackson Dart run next week. So
They're
that
not at the goal line. They're not going to have run into. They're not this week at least.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think there's a decent chance with my last picking Devin Singletary to get 6 points on a touchdown is not a bad idea. So that's where I'm going with that.
It's not a bad idea, but I'm still taking the Lions tight end over him.
I wouldn't even take Darius Slayton over him at this point.
All right, Mr. Jailer Hyatt.
With Hodgins on the roster now, I don't know where Jackson Dart goes with the ball. We'll have to see.
Danny, the final pick.
There is like nobody, actually nobody. I mean, my choice is between Bellinger and looking at the other projected points that Khalif Raymond, they have him projected at 5.5, but he's very hit or miss. I could go the fun Isaac Tesla, but I know he has that quad injury. And
he has 4 catches too.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything since that Cincinnati game. Or no, what was
typical preseason? Everyone like, oh wow, this rookie, the line, and then he doesn't do anything.
With that in mind, I'm gonna take. I'm gonna take Khalif.
Khalif Raymond.
Yeah, I'll take a Khalif Raymond.
Yeah, I think that's the get you a couple points safe pick.
Hopefully.
Who would have thought at that end of that 2017 season we'd be taking Khalif Raymond in the 2025
That's so true.
fantasy draft?
Didn't we pretty much have him here as a returner only?
Yeah, I think he scored a receiving touchdown in like that week 18 game or something.
Yeah, he definitely got some receiver snaps, but I think only after injuries.
I remember like playing my friends in Madden with like updated rosters in that year, and it was just like bullshit. Like this sucks. Let's see. How many touchdowns did he have for the? No, he had no receiving touchdown. He only had 1.
So for the record, Darius Slayton this year has about the same amount of yards receiving as Jahmyr Gibbs.
I mean, doesn't Jahmyr Gibbs have like the most receiving yards for a running back this year? And
Darius Slayton.
Yeah, I just take Darius Slayton over to. All right, you want to look up the numbers? All right, no, let's look up Devin Singletary's stats. All right.
Shout out to Devin Singletary for getting me the win last week. Just want to say shout out to you.
Yeah, he'll do that back-to-back week.
He has 2 more touchdowns than Darius Slayton. I'll tell you that much.
Bobby, you're saying that, and if he gets that, that's just gonna be a tough lift next week.
No, I mean his third best game is 28 yards, and he has
here we go
6 catches on the season. I am so invested in just me versus Grump individual player fantasy battles for the rest of the year. I'm 1-0. Jalen Hyatt, I'm 1-0.
Unless Danny picks all players on IR, I don't think I'm catching first place. So the best I can do is just argue with you.
Yeah, you're just trying to rile me up.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah, we planned this pre-show. It's like first take. It's like we're gonna argue about Devin Singletary versus Darius Slayton fantasy value.
I should have just taken Gunnar Olszewski. I should have argued Gunnar Olszewski.
You know what? And if Slayton is not available, guess what? I wasn't even gonna trade for Devin Singletary. So I promise you that. I have my big board in front of you. He's available. All right. To recap, Danny in first place has Jahmyr Gibbs, Theo Johnson, Tyrone Tracy, and Khalif Raymond. Myself in second, Amon-Ra St. Brown, David Montgomery, Darius Slayton, Brock Wright. And then Grump in last, Jameson Williams, Wan'Dale Robinson, Isaiah Hodgins, and Devin Singletary.
There you go, Devin.
All right, Giant Factors. Danny, you have the first pick this week.
Look, I'm sorry. Maybe it's not going to inspire a lot in people, so I apologize in advance. Look, I mean, this guy got dragged through the mud because he was either A, sleeping, or B, getting treatment. Who fully knows what it is?
There you go.
I mean, you got to go. It's Abdul Carter. Oh, he was also at a WWE event on Monday, and people were being like, "Why is he not in the film room?" Either way, look, I know you guys said on the pod Abdul Carter has been showing good things on the film, but for the regular Joe Blows who don't watch film, I see a half sack with Abdul Carter. I mean, look, what did you say?
I said I agree.
Oh, look, let's make that 0.5 a 1.5 this week. you know, or let's maybe make it. Let's get 2. I don't know, but I want to see something with my own eyes. I don't gonna go watch film and be like, damn, there's Abdul Carter. There's the guy that was our first pick in the 2025 draft. I haven't had that moment. I sometimes forget he is on the field sometimes. So Abdul Carter, this is when you go out there, shut up the haters. Good people feel like you're not locked in. You are locked in. We don't see it as regular people who don't watch film. So Abdul Carter, get a sack this week. All I'm asking for, maybe do like a night celebration. Please do that. Actually, do a night celebration when you get a sack and really stick it to us. Abdul Carter, giant factor.
Seriously, and I agree with that point, right? My thing of like, oh, Abdul Carter, the pressures and stuff, that's not me being like, oh, you guys are crazy for not being happy with this season. That's my reasoning of like, I'm confident the sacks are going to come eventually. But like you said, have that game. And, Abdul Carter, my good friend, we seriously do the go to sleep celebration, lay down on the ground and and go to sleep or whatever. You got to do it. You have to do it. Grump,
We'll take the 15-yard penalty. Who cares?
seriously, yeah, I want that. Grump, who's your giant factor?
There's not a lot to take out of this game. We don't think that the Giants are going to have a very good shot at winning this game, but I am going to be looking at individual players to show up. And that's why I want to see Cordell Flott. I don't care who they line up against you. You're a free agent this year. You have a chance to make some money. I would like the Giants to see it. Go out there and get some pass breakups. I don't care who's lined up across from you. It's going to be a challenge. You need to go out there and show that you can continue to be the guy that they should re-sign in the offseason. You're going to have some competition with Jermaine Illuminor, who's going to have to go up against Aiden Hutchinson at some point in this game. He was my backup person for a giant factor. But I mean, one of the reasons that Cordell Flott, like some of the coaching staff was down on him, was like injury concerns. I don't think that's ever going to go away. That's just who you are. So what the best you can do is be lights out on the field. And this is a huge test for you. So don't get burned for anything deep. If you allow some completions, but go out there and be competitive, make them throw away from you. Giant factor, Cordell Flott.
That's a good one. That's a good one. He had a baby, by the way.
He did. I saw that, and good for him.
Congrats, honest.
Way to go, Mom.
That's
Congrats. I won't say what I was going to.
good. I did a tweet today. How many Giants have given birth this year?
You were getting some statistical feedback in there. Like basically,
7 Giants have given birth to 8 different babies this year.
I will say, I understand, like, it just happens when it happens, but, like, can we, I'd say, I asked the Mets this, can we, like, schedule this, like, not in season? Like, we get, like,
it's real easy,
going on.
Danny. It's real easy, Danny. If you don't want to have a baby,
In November, then be in the Super Bowl in February. Be in the playoffs in January. That's a really good way to not do it. Be busy
and
with
I
something
know
else.
there's a sense of trying, but we're also, not everything is planned out. Like, all right, let's conceive now. It's more like, all right, whatever. None of us have kids, so we don't know anything about it.
That's a good point.
So that's
that we know.
Stanley has that kid, but he doesn't pay child support. My giant factor of
The hills.
people don't realize that Danny doesn't pay child support. It's one of the reasons, for no reason, he still does Giants Nation show. It's because actually that didn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense.
I was gonna say he needs the the extra few bucks to pay child support, but he doesn't pay the child support, so it doesn't make any sense. This is the only time his kid sees him every week is on the segments for the preview.
Yeah. That's why I get distracted. I'm like elbowing him away. I'm like, stop.
No, you're not. He's not there, Danny.
Oh, sorry. I have schizophrenia.
Yeah, anyways, the joke is over. All right, my giant factor is Andrew Thomas. I just want to see you win against Aiden Hutchinson, right? As we, I've been kind of quiet on the all-pro stuff. Have a great week against Aiden Hutchinson. One reason is because Micah Parsons got that BS sack on the Hail Mary, which I can't believe counted. But beat up Aiden Hutchinson, win all game long, and I will do a film breakdown of Andrew Thomas versus Aiden Hutchinson. So do that so I can do that, Andrew Thomas. If you don't, I won't do it. And stop damn texting me. Appreciate you guys. I got Andrew Thomas giant factor. What in the world's going on? All right,
Feels
spread
pretty
picks.
interesting.
Well, I've got like a million text messages like in 5 seconds. I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, so I'm getting messages from Danny and Julian. I think Julian sent our old Talking Giants group chat a text message, I think is what the issue is. Julian always like tries like, to like make it awkward and like and I'm just like, hey, no.
That was an accident on his part.
Spread, I haven't seen it yet. Spread picks. So I won't say what this was, but it was a couple weeks ago. There was something. Shit, do I want to say this? There was something that I thought was really stupid that somebody said, and I went to send it to somebody else, and I actually sent it to the person that said something really stupid. I had to play it off too. All right, spread picks. That's going to lead to like a lot of speculation when it really wasn't written much. Danny's in first place after a 6-3 week last week. He was at 40-49. Myself and Grump went 5-4, so I'm at 39-50. Grump is at 38-51. And the listeners, and the L stands for listeners, I went 3-6. They're 35-54. We've got Thursday night football. Bills at Texans plus 5.5. The listeners, represented by Simon Zerfowski of Germany, are going Bills minus 5.5. And by the way, listeners, as you try and get back on track, the 2022 week 1 spread picker was Simon. I saw it in the chat. He went 5-3. So there's some hope for you. I'm going Texans plus 5.5. That Bills defense is just bad. And I just don't think the Bills defense is going to be able to like shut out the Texans offense the way it has been. And the Texans offense hasn't been good. And I think the Texans defense is sick. So it's going to keep it tight. And it's Thursday night football. So I'm going Texans plus 5.5. People forget last year the Texans held Josh Allen to like 37% completion percentage. Grump, who you got?
I'm going Bills. I'm going Bills on this one. Houston's not scoring points, so the 5.5 doesn't scare me.
You're going Bills?
Going Bills.
Danny, who you got?
Bills.
So all right. We got Patriots at Bengals plus 6.5. There's some idea that maybe Joe Burrow is back in this game. I don't care. Like, that's not distracting me from the fact that the Bengals are terrible. I'm going Patriots minus 6.5. The listeners agree. Danny, do you agree?
Yeah, their defense sucks. And even if Joe Burrow's back, who knows what version of Joe Burrow you're even getting right out the gate.
Grump.
I'm going Patriots, man. I don't even care if Joe Burrow is playing.
That I said Patriots, right? Did I?
Yeah, everyone's
okay.
Patriots.
The way
This was I put together this get. Oh, we accidentally did 9 games last week, which I guess spoke to the slate. But this was I went through the spread picks and put together like 7 games, and I was like, I got to find 1 game to make this 8. This is our Colts and Daniel Jones at the Chiefs minus 3.5. Chiefs coming off of 2 straight losses. Danny, who do you got?
I think this is the game where it's going to be like, obviously the Colts have a good record. If I understand the Chiefs are not good, but if they could beat the Chiefs, then it's kind of like, all right, we're legit in these parts.
I feel like we've had that same conversation on the Colts like 20 times, and they keep winning.
That is true. But it's in Arrowhead. But that's the point. I'm gonna ride with my guy Daniel Jones. Let the guys be a little bit of savages, like the guy. I forgot this is our Colts song singer, especially since he got. Everyone's like, "You're gonna see."
We haven't talked about that. I felt a little bad because
I did.
He did the like, let's break Aaron Rodgers' back, and because it's the internet, we make jokes, and I was like, violent thug. I quoted him like, look at this violent thug, and he like did, and he did like an apology video. He's like, just kidding, we're just being savages, which is funny to think about, like someone with like a mean like that wasn't so kind-hearted being like, sorry, we didn't actually mean to promote violence. I was just trying to be a savage.
Yeah. It's not gotta be a savage, you know.
But the funny thing is that there's probably Steelers fans who are actually mad at that though, because they're like really dumb and like, this scumbag's promoting violence. So you have the Colts, right, Danny?
Yeah.
I got the Colts as well too. Even if they lose, they're gonna lose by 3 points. Grump.
Also true.
Wait, what's the line?
Chiefs minus 3.5.
Oh, yeah, I have the Colts. Chiefs lose by 4 often, but or by less than 4 often.
We're
Checkers
all
was interesting.
we're going negative this week. I could already tell. This is the most has 1-9 written all over it. 1-8.
Yeah, so you said Colts, Grump?
Sure did.
All right, so it's a clean sweep except for the listeners who are going Chiefs minus 3.5. Vikings at Packers minus 6.5. The JJ McCarthy, it's almost becoming like, I'm not a JJ McCarthy guy. It's almost becoming toxic in Minnesota where like Kevin O'Connell's like, yeah, he sucks. I kind of hate everything about him. He's broken. I can't believe we're in this situation. Justin Jefferson. It's so toxic, but they somehow keep these games like one score. So and the Packers haven't, blown teams out. So I'm actually going to go Vikings plus 6.5 in this one. I feel like JJ McCarthy, they lose this game, and he sucks, but they still cover the spread somehow. Listeners are going Packers though. Danny, are you in on the toxic culture in Minnesota?
It's hilarious. I read somewhere today that said they should trade for Mac Jones. That's where they're at. I also will be going the Vikings, like you said. The Packers find ways to keep these games close. Like they let the Giants were hanging around all day, and they had Jameis Winston. So I will also be going the Vikings to cover.
It's kind of crazy to think like the Colts added Daniel Jones and they're good this year, and then the Vikings, they're like, we wish we had Daniel Jones. Like how many other teams are like, why didn't we get Daniel Jones? The Steelers maybe. Actually, I don't think he'd be good on the Steelers. The listeners agree. Grump, who do you got?
I'm going Packers. I don't think that the Vikings keep it close as often as you guys say. About 3 out of 6 losses were 1-score games, and one of those was 6 points. Packers are not playing great recently, but they do score a lot of points. Typically, they'll have a test with Brian Flores. This is definitely one I had to think hard about, but I am going to go Packers on this one.
Steelers at Bears minus 2.5. Aaron Rodgers dealing with an injury, but there's been so much like, Aaron Rodgers still owns Chicago no matter what. And this is like Chicago's hold Boston Scott. Boston Scott doesn't score game. Like this is Chicago gets their win over Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going Bears minus 2.5. Danny, where are you in on this Aaron Rodgers discourse?
I understand they're saying it's not a big break in his wrist, but it's like, how is it going to affect him? We don't know, especially when
this year too.
And when he gets hit on that hand, it's a different ball game. So I will be going the Bears too. I think, like you said, I think this is the week they finally get that win over Rodgers.
Grump?
I'm going to agree. I would with 2.5 points is basically nothing. But the Steelers don't really have a great run game either. If they did, I would go Steelers.
Listeners are going Steelers. Eagles at Cowboys plus 3. What do you got on this one, Grump?
I'm going to go Cowboys on this one. Cowboys are figuring stuff out at the right time. Eagles defense is also getting strong, but I don't know. I'm going to roll the dice on new head coach.
Yeah, I just feel like the Eagles it is very funny that like every other year the Eagles are like, have 2 losses or 1 loss, and it's like talking about them and like there's widespread panic. I think this is just one of those games they win. So I'm going Eagles. Yeah, listeners agree. Danny, what do you got?
I mean, the Cowboys played like that when their 2 star players were an hour late coming back from the casino. And I'll take the Cowboys over the Eagles this one.
Bucks at Rams minus 6.5. What do you got for this one, Danny?
I'm actually going to be there, so I'm excited. So I'll be pulling for the Rams. I feel like the Bucks are losing a little bit of steam right now. The wind's getting taken out the sails.
What time is this game? Is this Sunday night?
It's Sunday night.
Okay. So you said Rams?
Yeah.
All right. Listeners agree with you. I agree with you too, man. I like the Bucks a lot, but the Rams are damn good. And Matthew Stafford is built to handle a Todd Bowles defense. So I'm going to go Rams. Grump, how about you?
Hot take. This is an NFC Championship game preview.
I would
There we
love
go.
that. I would love
There we
that
go.
so much.
I'm going Rams. Rams are beating the shit out of teams.
We did a lot of Senior Bowl preview talk. If the Rams win the Super Bowl, go to the Super Bowl, that'd help us if we hire Chris Shula, because we don't want our Senior Bowl to be disrupted. Panthers at 49ers -7. Grump, how are you with the Carolina boys in North Carolina?
I will never be a Panthers fan. I'm going Niners on this one.
Oh, so you're a Charlotte guy who hates the Panthers.
I think everybody in Charlotte doesn't care about the Panthers. It's everywhere else in North Carolina that they become Panthers fans.
I heard you say that on the Chris Peterson's podcast.
Yeah.
But dude, the Panthers are just like one of those scrappy teams, though. It's hard for me to see them not keeping it within 7 points.
Not me. I mean, the bottom's gonna fall out pretty soon. They're kind of coasting on fumes. Brock Purdy's back, right?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
So I'm still I feel pretty confident in the San Francisco thing, and I think this also might be the game where they lose and like the bottom just comes out on the season.
Okay. Danny, who do you got?
I'm also going to go the Panthers. I mean, they just keep winning since Meow Mix retired, and can't argue with stats.
Yes, that's Meow Mix. They're like they're the meme team this year. Like the Meow Mix podcast retires. You have Carolina Mike. I also was on a podcast with Carolina Mike on that same podcast that I just referenced with go check it out, Bacon Shake Worldwide.
Yeah, that was actually a lot of fun. Those guys are funny.
Yeah. So they've known the Carolina Mike guy before he blew up. It's very funny. He's like, yeah, I've been listening to this guy for a month, and now he's like a superstar. Listeners are going 49ers -7. I'm going with my guy Carolina Mike. Panthers +7. Monday Night Football. Panthers on Monday Night Football.
Crazy.
When was the last time the Panthers were on Monday Night Football?
I mean, it had to
We
be.
get stuck on this whenever we have Monday Night Football teams.
It had to be 2017. They were good. No,
I mean, I guess with Cam Newton, they were probably on it a lot, right?
Probably on it a lot, right? In 2015, they were.
I'll say last year time was 2019.
Panthers Monday Night Football history.
I'll say 2021.
2023, but I think it was one of those stupid doubleheader games. It was 9/18/2023.
Yeah, it could have been then.
So if that's it, it doesn't count. The last time before that was 2018 when they lost to the Saints 9-12.
Oof.
Good God.
Sure had the same effect on the ratings that being in a contract dispute with you.
So 9/18/23. So that's NFL. I'm going to look it up. Was that a doubleheader?
Oh, I think it was because the Steelers played at the Browns that day, I think, if I'm looking at the right thing. Yeah, September 18th, 2023. I see Steelers Browns.
Yep. So that doesn't count. That doesn't count as playing on Monday Night Football. If Dan Orlovsky and Louis Riddick are calling your game, that does not count as prime time to me.
I think I'm accurate. Hopefully I'm right.
Even though Louis Riddick, I guess, did do the regular Monday Night Football broadcasts. I know we've made this joke a million times on this show, but it is so funny to watch Louis Riddick and Dan Orlovsky call a game and trying to not call it for like the casual audience that watches Monday Night Football, and it's just a constant dick measuring contest of who knows more football. Where it's like, the pistol offense, I just think that they need to get this quarterback off platform a little more, and the pistol limits the movement. And Louis Riddick's like, yeah, but that nickel corner, the way that he creeps down, and it's just like, just call the damn game, okay? Just call it, okay? So, say great play, what a catch. Give your opinion on fourth down. We don't need you to do this. All right. New York Giants at Detroit Lions, Week 12. What is your score prediction, Danny King?
First off, shout out Body Armor, keeping me hydrated as it's raining in LA. Shout out Body Armor.
Hydrated.
Stay hydrated. With that said, it is going to be an absolute ass kicking on Sunday. Absolute ass kicking. They might drop 40 on our heads. I'm expecting 40. Lions 42. Giants, I'll give them 20.
Grump, what is your score prediction?
I would like to think the Jackson Dart helps keep this game close in terms of score. The game won't feel close. It won't look close, but the Giants will score some points, I think. I hope. Which will give us a reason to watch in the fourth quarter. I'm going to say Lions 42, Giants 31.
Yeah, I know you guys don't like it, because the Giants lose, and anytime the Giants lose, any type of tradition we have gets blamed for the Giants losing, but I don't care. We'll see you on Sunday. Giants 77, Lions 0. We'll see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.